Welcome back to Prompt Circle. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Google's newly released Agent Builder. Now, this has been quite fascinating for me over the past few weeks as I've been testing it and diving into its capability. And I would say this is probably one of the simplest ways to build and deploy your agents, especially if you are into the Google ecosystem for the models, like you want to use Gemini. It's truly easy. It's no code, slash low code if you want to kind of add more, sort of sophisticated capabilities behind the scenes. But we're going to take a look at two possibilities. There is the search possibility, which I'm getting very, very interested about with a lot of organizations, especially if you are in that enterprise B2B space. You're building applications for organizations, you're building applications that are going to be used in the workplace. This idea of being able to search across multiple documents very, very easily using a Google-like search capability that is built with LLM functionality is quite fascinating. And I think that is something that I am finding very, very interesting about this, is that you can build quite a number of things. Now, we're going to be diving into that, and then we're also going to be deploying a chatbot to Slack, because they have built the possibility for you to build your agent inside the agent builder in Google and deploy it pretty much to Slack or any other system that you might be using. So I think this actually represents one of the easiest ways to build applications. So let's check it out. So if you don't have a Google Cloud account, I would suggest that you sign up for one. I'll put a link in the description for you to go in there. So all you really need to do is to go into console.cloud.google.com. You would need a billing account for this. Now keep in mind that as you're using these services, there could be some costs that are incurred. So please make sure to take a look at the pricing documentation to know exactly how much it costs for each of these things that you might be building. So primarily speaking, what you have here is you need to just go to Vertex. You need to just go to just search Agent Builder. And this is basically going to take you to this page. This is the Vertex Agent Builder page. And here you could just very, very simply create a new app. Now, as I said, there are a few options here for you in terms of the apps you could create. You can create a search application. So this is basically allowing you to build a search application completely no code. Now, this is typically a very, very complicated thing to build under normal circumstances, and people typically struggle with it. But what they have done here is to make it so easy for you to search through text, unstructured, search through your embeddings if you prefer to do that. And you can simply take a snippet of code which they're going to be generating for you and embed that inside your application or on your website, wherever you need to have this search functionality. As you can see, there's a chat capability out of the box, and also the newly released agent feature, which is here. So, and then you also have something like this, like a recommendations engine based on whatever content you have. So let's go ahead and start off with search. Now, I think this is becoming very, very important, like bringing the possibilities of LLM into search. And we've seen some companies, I think there's a company called Glean that is already doing this, and they're doing it at scale, helping organizations sort of search through their entire knowledge base and stuff like that. And I've been actually, working, at my workplace, working on a similar capability as well. And this is my go-to for this solution, because it really simplifies how you can build it. All right, so before we actually get started, let's take a look at the type of search applications you can build. So there is a generic sort of search application, which basically allows you to use AI to just search across your documents. You could search for media items as well. And this is quite fascinating because they've provided the ability for you to also search for clinical data using the FHIR format. Now, if you are in the healthcare space, this FHIR format is sort of the standardized approach to storing clinical records, but this search capability allows you to search on top of FHIR, which is quite significant. Now you can, add your enterprise edition features, as it says here, being able to do website search, image search, things of that nature. And you have the advanced LLM features like, for instance, can you search with summarization? So I'm not just searching to get only the result, but get some kind of summarization back. Or you could also search with follow-up questions. So we're going to take a look at that. So let's go ahead and give our search app a name. So I'm going to call it Prompt Circle YouTube Demo. And I'm going to give it the name of Prompt Circle here. And you can choose a region for your application. I'm going with global for now. And you can hit the continue button. Now, the next step once you sort of create your initial app is to connect it to data. And basically, you can connect a data store. Now, this data store is basically just can be a bucket, a Google storage bucket where all of your information lives. It could be, other things. So let's go ahead and look at how to create a data store. So these are all the options that exist today, which is pretty fascinating. You can add a website URL as your search option. You could use Google's BigQuery, which is sort of Google's analytics data store that you could use as well. You could use cloud storage, which is the example we're going to use. So very, very similar to any other cloud storage provider like Amazon S3 and so on and so forth. You could basically store information in here. You could also connect your Google Drive if you're using a workspace account. And you also have like API access. So if you're trying to, call an API to retrieve the data, so data might be somewhere, you could essentially connect an API. You could also use search over a database, and this is where it gets fascinating. So maybe information is in your PostgreSQL database or is in any other database. You can basically pull that out. And also, I think Spanner is also a database from Google, Bigtable, and even Firestore. So these are the current data sources. Now, from what they're saying, they're going to be adding more of these types of data sources. So look out for this particular page to see what options exist currently. So for Google data, for Google Cloud Storage, we're going to just go ahead and select this. Now, I already have a bucket that has been created, so we're going to use that. But by the way, in terms of what type of data that you can upload, you have unstructured documents, and currently they support PDF, HTML, text. They also support CSV for FAQ questions. The Docs and PowerPoint is also available in preview. Now, they also support JSON-L for some structured data, JSON-L with metadata, JSON-L for unstructured documents with metadata, and they also support CSV alone. So for now, we're just going to do something simple. We're going to use unstructured documents. We're going to use a bunch of PDFs. And I already have a document that I have already created. I have right in here. So if you see PC documents, so that is my document store, and I have a folder in there which we can use. So if you haven't created a Google storage bucket, you can do that. Very, very easy to set up. And then you go ahead and hit continue, and you give your data store a name. So here I'm going to call my data store Prompt Circle Test for now. And then there is the document processing options. Now, there are a few options here which you should keep in mind. So there's the digital parser, and basically digital parser is just for any digital text. Now, if you have, say, scanned documents or things of that nature where it needs to kind of convert those scanned documents into text first before it can be searched across, then you're probably going to be using an OCR because that's the optical character recognition parser, and then you have a layout parser. I'm not sure what the layout parser does specifically, but I understand what these two do. For us, we're going to be using the digital parser. Now, you can also kind of enable chunk mode to chunk the data into chunks, but if you enable this mode, then it prevents you from doing things like follow-up, or summarization. So we're going to leave this unchecked for now and go ahead and hit create. So now our data store is getting created. Now this typically takes just a few minutes to work. So I'm just going to select mine and it's going to go ahead and do some kind of import. So right now you can see it says that the import is in progress. So I'm going to just pause the video while it is completing, and once it's completed, then we can jump right back in. All right, well, that took some time to happen. I think it took almost 6 to 7 minutes, which is pretty slow, but I think what's happening there is that it is doing some kind of indexing and stuff like that. But this was just for 2 documents, so I guess we need to figure out, when we load this thing up with like a ton of documents, how it actually performs from a time perspective. So just keep that in mind, that it took a little bit of time for it to actually conclude that processing. Now, the next thing we can do is to go into configurations. And inside configurations, we can start to look at a few things here. So you can decide what type of search you want to build. So you could search with an answer. There is sort of the, kind of plain search. So for instance, I could ask the question, I have a document in there that is sort of an from one of my courses, which talks about LangChain. So I can say, what is LangChain as an example. So I say, what is LangChain? And it just basically pulls that information about LangChain. Now, I would say the results have been kind of mixed in terms of what is actually returning, because I have another document which is completely different from the results related to LangChain itself. But let's look at what I am truly fascinated about, and that is really searching with an answer. So if I am to use this approach as an example and say search with an answer, if this is the approach I want to use, I can say, what is LangChain? And now this is where it's doing just more than pulling back the search results. It is pulling back the actual summary of where I've talked about LangChain. It's pulling back citations as well, and those citations can be actually downloaded directly, as you can see. And it really kind of provides you with a lot of that information in here. And this is what is truly cool, because you can completely transform the way you build search within your applications. And we haven't written a line of code yet. And that is really what is truly fascinating about this builder tool, is that you can build these types of capabilities pretty quickly and have them embedded in your platform as quickly as possible. Now, the other type of search option we have is the search with follow-ups. Now, search with follow-ups gives you the answer, but it also gives you a number of questions that you can ask as follow-up. So let's try it out. So let's say, what is LangChain once again? And again, using the LLM, so this is basically running RAG on that document, and it's going to pull back the response, but this time around, let's see, yeah, so it's going to say ask a follow-up. So basically, it's giving you ask a follow-up, so you can ask a follow-up question like, explain some of the RAG capabilities offered by LangChain. And once I do that, again, it's doing all that work. LangChain provides an interface for using prompts, like managing prompt templates. And then it provides a, generic. Well, this doesn't necessarily go into all the details of what I'm saying, but the cool thing here is that you can now start to ask that follow-up question. Now, underneath here, you can see what type of large language model you want to use for summarization. You can use Text Bison, which is sort of from the previous legacy versions of PAM, but also the Gemini Pro is also available, including Gemini 1.5 Pro. It's still in preview. Remember, Gemini 1.5 Pro promises 1 million tokens in its context window, which is pretty awesome. So this is something you can also add as well, or you can use here if you prefer to use that, or you can use any of the Gemini models that are currently available. Now, also, you can also decide, to enable extractive answer, a longer passage of text, or a short fragment of text from the search results and things like that. Now we can also do autocomplete. Now so far in my testing, I haven't seen the autocomplete work that well. So let me see, LangChain model and prompt engineering. I'm not seeing any sort of autocomplete capability per se, but basically that's what this is supposed to do, is that, you know, as you're typing, you're getting some search, you know, results or things of that nature. Now here we go again, pulling that information in, summarizing it, which is pretty awesome. All right, so now that is really it in terms of the configuration itself. I mean, there are other things you can do. There's some tuning here. So let me just go ahead and save and publish first. And then, you know, there's some tuning that you can do. I haven't really looked too deeply into this, but I'm going to do that. I think you can tune the base model, but I think this a little bit more if you're looking for something really, really specific to an organization. There's also the advanced sort of features, which we already set up for enterprise and for advanced LLM features. So this is a pretty quick and amazing way to build enterprise grade search functionality for your application. If you have clients who are sort of in the B2B space and you're trying to build and deploy these types of capabilities, pretty quickly you can deploy them. And that's what I love about this. Now, you might be asking, but how do we get this into the system? How do we deploy this? Well, the cool thing here is that you have this integration tab, which allows you to essentially make this public. Make it available to your app, I should say. Now, there are two approaches. You can either use public access, which is basically open to everyone who is using your application, or you can have an OAuth-based or JWT-based approach to doing this. And all you really need to do is insert these widgets window right into the header of your page, and you have access to, you know, this search capability. And then this is sort of where you do the authorization and stuff like that. Now, keep in mind, you might be asking, well, I love that we can do this. You know, we can embed this as a widget. We can also make it available as an API call as well. So if you wanted to, you know, make an API call to the search, return a result, things of that nature, you can also do that using the API option here. This is pretty special. I can't really emphasize how amazing this is, because building search capability is one of the toughest things to do, and building search plus LLM capabilities is amazing. And this is why I think, you know, this agent builder is probably the best I've seen so far, because it does much more than just building chatbots. It gives you this search capability, which is so huge when you are dealing with organizational data, or, you know, any other data. You know, you can basically index your entire website's catalog. If you're in the e-commerce space, if you're offering courses, for instance, you can take all of your courses and make them searchable in this particular way, and, you know, really enrich the experience of your users. All right, so now before we sort of round up, let's look at the actual agent builder itself. Now that we've seen how to build search, let's go back to our agent builder and see how we can actually build an agent. Now, when we go back to the new app here, we're going to select this time agent. And when you select agent, you can give your agent a name. I'm going to give my agent prompt circle. And the region, I'm selecting US Central, which is fine. That's where I want to host my agent. I'm going to go ahead and create the agent. Now, the cool thing here is that Google is making it so easy for you to build these agents. So you have your agent, which has a name. So let's call it prompt circle here. So that's my agent name. Now, the thing is, like, you need to define a goal for your agent. So, you know, you can define whatever goals you find are very, very important. Now, I'm doing a very, very broad overview. I'm going to do another video where I really, really dive deep into building an actual use case out, because I think that's always a good thing to sort of take, you know, a specific use case, build it out so that you can see the true capabilities. But for now, let's just go over the broad functionality. So you can just have a goal. So your goal is to be helpful. Let's just do with that. And then you can provide instructions. So you see it provides you with some sample instructions like greet the user, then ask them how you can help them today, and summarize the user's request and ask them to confirm that that was understood correctly. One thing I'm liking about the way Google is approaching these types of agent builders and sort of their entire sort of AI posture is that they're not just giving you this wonderful capability like to run with it. They're providing a lot of guidance and a lot of guardrails that are very, very important as you think about safely deploying these AI capabilities, agents, and assistants into production. And this is what I really like about this is that it gives you some understanding. Now, one of the cool things as well is that function calling is embedded into the way you can set instructions. So you can see like anything that has this dollar sign and tool basically is a way for you to tell the agent to use a specific tool to solve a specific problem. And then you can see the different available tools also here. You can also connect your data store, and they also have a code interpreter. So if you're trying to do things that are code interpreter related, you can do that here. So let's just say, greet the user, greet the user and ask how you can be of help. Let's just do that. Just to get it done. All right. So we're just going with, simple, chat GPT like stuff, like basically bad to be more closer to what Gemini really is. So I can just start by saying hello, and it's going to return some kind of response. Now, what's really fascinating me, and we're going to talk about function calling, we're going to talk about RAG, and we're going to do all of those things in a subsequent video where I do a deeper dive into how to build these agents. All right, so now what's really fascinating and what really excites me about what Google has done here is like, okay, you can create an agent, that's fine, that's cool. You have a good way to kind of look at your version history, which is so amazing, so you can see how your prompts have changed over time. As an example, obviously, like I said, you can connect your tools to do interesting things. So you can have all these different types of tools that do interesting stuff. If you're trying to make API call outs and things of that nature, you could do those things very, very easily. So you can use function calling as much as you want. And they're providing like a lot of tooling around building your own agent, but also they're providing a mechanism for you to deploy that agent. And this gets me truly excited because what this means is that you're not just building this out, you can deploy it pretty quickly. And they've given you like some really cool options. You can deploy it to your messenger, your Facebook Messenger, to Line, to Google Chat. Of course, you guys know I love Slack on this channel, so that fascinated me that you can also deploy it to Slack, to Discord, to Twilio, to Telegram, Viber, and so many of these other options. And I expect that they're going to be adding more options here. So let's try the Slack approach. And this truly gets me excited because this is how easy it is to build out this kind of thing. So first and foremost, you go to your api.slack.com and you create an app. So I have some apps already created. Your app would obviously need some send message and be able to subscribe to messages. And all you really need to do is to go into your OAuth permissions, grab your bot user token, which you can do very, very easily, and plug it right in here, into this, your access token. And also go to your basic information and grab your sign-in secret. So in this case, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to regenerate this after the video, of course. So you do your sign-in token, and you start. Now, what it does is it generates this webhook URL. You go back to your Slack application, go to your event subscription, and under your event subscription, you basically enter the URL that you get from Google, and that basically is it. So you've basically connected that. Now, when we go to the application itself, so Let me see my app. So my app is somewhere here. So let's go to slack.com and let's look at prompt circle. So now when I go to my Vertex and go and type hello, I'm getting a response back purely from my application. This is pretty special when you really think about it. This is truly special, makes it really, really easy for you to build and deploy these applications pretty quickly to most of those options that they have. In subsequent videos, I'm going to dive deeper into how you can build out these applications in different ways, how you can use function calling, how you can do RAG and things like that. But the search capability, the ability to build this agent with no code or low code, if you want to call it that, is pretty special. Until next time, have a great one. Cheers.